The America's Got Talent stage was buzzing with its usual electric energy as the final auditions of the season prepared to wrap up. It was a warm September evening in 2024, and Simon Cowell sat in his familiar position at the judges' table, black t-shirt crisp despite the long day of auditions. After 15 seasons of AGT, Simon thought he had seen every type of performer, every kind of story, every possible combination of talent and tragedy that could walk onto his stage. He was about to discover how wrong he was. 12-year-old Sophia Bennett stood in the wings, waiting for her name to be called. She was a petite girl with shoulder-length auburn hair that caught the backstage lights, wearing a simple lavender dress that her mother had carefully chosen for this moment. What the audience couldn't see from their seats, and what the cameras hadn't yet focused on, was the small medical alert bracelet on her thin wrist and the almost imperceptible way she favored her left side when she walked. Sophia had been dreaming of this moment for 3 years, ever since she first watched AGT with her family and declared that she would be on that stage someday. Her parents, David and Margaret Bennett, sat in the audience, their faces masks of pride mixed with an anxiety that went far deeper than typical stage parent nerves. They knew something that Sophia had insisted on keeping secret from everyone, including the show's producers. "Ladies and gentlemen," Terry Crews announced with his characteristic enthusiasm, "our next performer is 12-year-old Sophia Bennett from Portland, Oregon." The audience erupted in applause as Sophia walked onto the stage. Simon immediately noticed her grace and poise, but also something else, a carefulness in her movements that suggested someone who had learned to be mindful of her body in ways most 12-year-olds never had to consider. "Hello, Sophia," Simon said warmly. After years of working with young performers, he had developed a genuine fondness for child contestants. "You look lovely. What are you going to do for us today?" Sophia adjusted the microphone stand and smiled, though Simon caught a fleeting moment of what looked like pain cross her features. "Thank you, Mr. Cowell. I'm going to sing. I wrote the song myself, and it means everything to me to be able to perform it here." Heidi Klum leaned forward with interest. "You wrote it yourself? That's impressive. What's the song about?" Sophia paused for just a moment, and in that pause, Simon saw something that made him pay closer attention. There was a weight in her eyes, a seriousness that seemed beyond her years. "It's called Every Day is a Gift," she said simply. "It's about appreciating the time we have and making every moment count." Sofia Vergara smiled warmly. "That's a beautiful message for someone so young. Did someone special inspire you to write it?" "Life inspired me," Sophia replied, and there was something in the way she said it that made Simon sit up straighter. It wasn't the typical answer of a child who had lived a sheltered, comfortable existence. It was the response of someone who had learned profound lessons the hard way. "Well," Howie Mandel said with his usual energy, "let's hear this song that life inspired. Take it away, Sophia." Sophia closed her eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath that seemed to center her entire being. When she opened them again, something had transformed. The nervous 12-year-old had been replaced by an artist preparing to bare her soul. She began to sing, and from the first note, Simon knew this was something extraordinary. Her voice was pure and powerful, with an emotional depth that seemed impossible for someone her age. But it was the lyrics that truly caught his attention. "Every sunrise is a promise that I almost didn't see. Every breath I take's a miracle that wasn't guaranteed. They said the days were numbered, but they couldn't count my heart. Every day is a gift when you knew it from the start." The audience was completely silent, absorbed in the raw emotion pouring from this young girl. Simon found himself leaning forward, struck by the maturity and pain in her voice. "Every doctor's visit, every test they run, every treatment that I endure until the day is done. But I keep on singing, keep on dreaming, keep on believing in tomorrow. Every day is a gift, even days that bring you sorrow." As Sophia continued singing, Simon felt a growing unease. The lyrics were too specific, too knowledgeable about medical procedures and treatments. This wasn't a child imagining what illness might be like. This was someone singing from experience. "When they told me the numbers, when they spoke about time, I decided that my story would end with hope, not decline. Every day is a gift. Every moment is a chance to show the world that love is stronger than any circumstance." Sophia's voice cracked slightly on the final notes, and as she finished, the auditorium erupted in applause. But Simon wasn't clapping. He was staring at Sophia with an expression of growing concern and realization. "Sophia," Simon said, his voice gentler than usual, "that was absolutely beautiful. But can I ask you something? Those lyrics, they seem very, very specific." Sophia's carefully maintained composure wavered for just a moment. "Thank you, Mr. Cowell. Music is always personal, isn't it?" "It is," Simon agreed, "but But your song mentions doctors, treatments, numbered days. Sophia, are you ill? The question hung in the air like a thunderclap. The other judges looked at Simon in surprise, clearly not having picked up on the implications he had recognized. Sophia looked down at her hands, and when she looked back up, her eyes were filled with tears. Mr. Cowell, she said quietly, I have something called osteosarcoma. It's a type of bone cancer. I was diagnosed when I was 9. The studio fell completely silent. Simon felt as though the air had been sucked out of his lungs. This 12-year-old girl, standing on his stage with such poise and talent, was battling cancer. Sophia, Heidi said softly, her own voice thick with emotion. How are you doing now? Are you getting better? Sophia's smile was brave but heartbreaking. The doctors are doing everything they can. I've had surgery, chemotherapy, radiation. Some days are better than others. But I wanted to be here because singing makes me feel alive, and this stage has always been my dream. Simon stood up from his chair, something he rarely did during auditions. The other judges watched in surprise as he walked around the table, his expression unreadable. Sophia, Simon said, his voice tight with emotion. How long have you been fighting this? 3 years, Sophia replied. But I don't think of it as fighting anymore. I think of it as living. Every day I wake up, every song I sing, every moment with my family, it's all just living. Simon reached the edge of the stage and stopped, looking up at this remarkable child who was teaching him about courage in real time. Sophia, can you tell me what your prognosis is? What do the doctors say? Sophia hesitated, and Simon could see her parents in the audience, both crying openly now. They say I'm in remission right now, which is good, but they also say that with my type of cancer, it's unpredictable, so I try to make every day count. Simon felt something break inside his chest. This child, who should be worried about school projects and sleepovers, was living with the knowledge that her time might be limited, and instead of being bitter or angry, she had written a song about gratitude. Sophia, Simon said, his voice beginning to shake, why didn't you tell the producers about your illness when you auditioned? Because I didn't want to be here because I'm sick, Sophia said firmly. I wanted to be here because I can sing. I wanted to be judged on my talent, not my medical condition. I'm not a sad story, Mr. Cowell. I'm a singer. The strength and dignity in her words hit Simon like a physical blow. Here was a 12-year-old girl with more wisdom and grace than most adults he knew, facing a life-threatening illness with courage that humbled him completely. Simon turned to address the cameras and the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, his voice thick with emotion, in 30 years of judging talent shows, I have never encountered anything like this. He looked back at Sophia, who was watching him with those wise, patient eyes. Sophia, you said you wanted to be judged on your talent, not your condition. Well, your talent is extraordinary. Your voice is beautiful, your songwriting is mature and profound, and your performance was flawless. Sophia smiled, tears rolling down her cheeks. But, Simon continued, what's even more extraordinary is your spirit, your courage, your ability to find gratitude in circumstances that would break most people. You're not just a talented singer, Sophia. You're a remarkable human being. Simon paused, struggling to maintain his composure. I need to step away for a moment, he said suddenly. I'm sorry, but I need a minute. The cameras followed as Simon walked off the stage, leaving the other judges and Sophia in stunned silence. He had never walked off during an audition before, never let his emotions overwhelm him so completely in front of the cameras. Backstage, Simon stood with his back to the wall, trying to process what he had just experienced. A production assistant approached him cautiously. Simon, are you okay? Do you need anything? Simon wiped his eyes, not caring that millions of people would see him cry. I need to make some phone calls, he said. I need to find out everything I can about osteosarcoma, about treatment options, about what this girl needs. When Simon returned to the stage 10 minutes later, Sophia was still there, having spent the time talking with the other judges and sharing more of her story. The audience had been told what was happening, and many were crying openly. Sophia, Simon said as he resumed his position at the judges' table, I apologize for walking away. I needed a moment to process what you shared with us. It's okay, Mr. Cowell, Sophia said with understanding far beyond her years. It's a lot to take in. It is, Simon agreed, but I want you to know something. You came here wanting to be judged on your talent alone, and your talent is undeniable. You're going through to the next round. The audience erupted in applause, but Simon wasn't finished. But more than that, he continued, I want to help you in any way I can. I've already made some calls, and I'm arranging for you to see some of the best oncologists in the country. Whatever you need, medical care, treatment, support, consider it done. Sophia stared at him in disbelief. Mr. Cowell, you don't have to do that. I didn't come here asking for help. I know you didn't, Simon said. That's exactly why you deserve it. Sophia, You've taught me something today about courage, about grace, about what really matters in life. Let me give something back." Heidi stood up and walked over to the golden buzzer. "Actually," she said, looking at her fellow judges, "I think we all agree on this one." She slammed the golden buzzer, and golden confetti rained down on Sophia as the audience gave her a standing ovation that lasted for several minutes. But Sophia wasn't looking at the confetti or the cheering crowd. She was looking at Simon with tears of gratitude streaming down her face. Later that evening, after the cameras had stopped rolling, Simon met privately with Sophia and her parents. They talked for over an hour about her treatment, her dreams, and her remarkably positive outlook on life. "Why did you walk off the stage?" Sophia asked him during their conversation. Simon was quiet for a moment, because in that moment I realized that I had been taking everything for granted. My health, my time, my opportunities to make a difference. "You're 12 years old, facing something that would terrify me, and you're writing songs about gratitude. It humbled me completely." Sophia's mother, Margaret, spoke up. "Mr. Cowell, you have no idea what this means to our family. Sophia has been through so much, and to see her dream come true like this, she's an extraordinary girl," Simon replied. "And I meant what I said about the medical support. I've already been in touch with some of the top cancer research centers in the country. Whatever Sophia needs, she'll have it." Sophia's father, David, who had been quiet throughout the conversation, finally spoke. "Why are you doing this? You barely know us." Simon looked at Sophia, who was sitting quietly, still wearing her performance dress, but now with a hospital bracelet visible on her wrist. "Because your daughter reminded me what courage really looks like. Because she's facing something unimaginable with grace and dignity that puts the rest of us to shame. And because sometimes, when you have the power to help someone, you have the responsibility to do it." Over the following weeks, Sophia's story became national news. Her AGT audition video was viewed over 50 million times, and her song "Every Day is a Gift" was downloaded millions of times, with all proceeds going to pediatric cancer research. More importantly, Simon kept his promise. He arranged for Sophia to be seen by leading oncologists at multiple institutions, ensuring she had access to the most advanced treatments available. He also set up a foundation in her name to support other young cancer patients pursuing their dreams in the arts. Sophia continued through the AGT competition, ultimately finishing in the top 5. But her real victory was much larger than any competition. Her story inspired millions of people to appreciate their own health and opportunities, and her foundation helped dozens of other young cancer patients receive both medical care and support for their artistic pursuits. 6 months after her initial audition, Sophia returned to AGT for a special follow-up segment. Her latest medical scans had shown continued remission, and she looked healthier and happier than ever. "How has your life changed since that night?" Simon asked during the interview. Sophia smiled, and it was the radiant smile of someone who had found joy despite facing her worst fears. "Everything is different, but also exactly the same. I still have cancer, I still have treatments, I still have uncertain days ahead. But now I also have this incredible support system, and I know that whatever happens, I've been able to share my music with the world." She paused, looking directly at Simon. "And I learned that sometimes the best thing about having a dream come true isn't the dream itself. It's discovering that there are people who care enough to help make it happen." Simon, who had become genuinely fond of Sophia and her family, smiled back. "What's next for you?" "I'm working on an album," Sophia replied. "All original songs about hope, courage, and finding joy in difficult circumstances. I want other kids who are going through what I'm going through to know that they're not alone." The interview concluded with Sophia performing a new song she had written called "Stronger Than Yesterday." It was a powerful anthem about resilience and hope that brought the entire studio to tears once again. As the segment ended, Simon made a final comment that would become one of his most quoted statements. "Sophia Bennett taught me that true talent isn't just about what you can do with your voice or your body. It's about what you can do with your spirit, your courage, your determination to find light in the darkest places." She didn't just win a spot on this show. She won something much more important. She won the hearts of everyone who heard her story, and she reminded us all what it means to be truly alive. The story of Sophia's AGT audition became legendary, not just for her remarkable talent, but for the way it transformed everyone who witnessed it. Simon often said that walking off the stage that night was one of the most important decisions of his career, because it led him to understand that some moments are too important for entertainment. They require genuine human response. Sophia continued to thrive, both medically and artistically. Her cancer remained in remission, and her music continued to inspire people around the world. But perhaps most importantly, She had proven that sometimes the most powerful performance isn't about technical perfection, it's about the courage to share your truth and the grace to find beauty even in the most challenging circumstances. Simon's foundation, established in Sophia's honor, went on to support hundreds of young artists facing serious illnesses, proving that sometimes a single moment of genuine human connection can create ripples of compassion that last for years. And every time Simon heard one of Sophia's songs, he was reminded of the night a 12-year-old girl taught him that every day truly is a gift, especially the days when we choose to share that gift with others.